Few times in history have we encountered letters as impactful as this one, written by figures at the center of events that shaped the world. The letter you are about to discover was written by none other than Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea, and addressed to Emperor Tiberius Caesar. Its content is a striking reflection on the trial and crucifixion of a man who would change the course of history, Jesus of Nazareth. Prepare yourself for a narrative that defies logic and carries an almost prophetic weight. Pilate begins his letter by saying, "Greetings, great emperor. With a heavy heart, I write to report an event that marked my governance in the province of Judea. A man named Jesus of Nazareth was brought to me on charges of blasphemy and sedition. The leaders of the people delivered him with haste and fury, demanding his death. I confess, Tiberius, that I expected to find a troublemaker, a rebel. But the man who stood before me was different. He did not tremble, he did not plead, and his eyes carried a serenity that seemed to defy time itself. I asked him, 'Are you the king of the Jews?' He answered enigmatically, 'My kingdom is not of this world.' I found no guilt in him. However, the crowd was enraged. I offered to release him, as was customary during the Passover, but they cried out for Barabbas, a notorious thief. Still, I asked, 'What then shall I do with Jesus, called the Christ?' And they shouted, 'Crucify him.' I washed my hands before them as a symbol that his blood would not be upon me. But from that day on, an inexplicable burden weighs upon me. This man, Jesus, was no mere mortal. His followers say he has risen from the dead. What kind of king is this, Tiberius, who does not seek crowns of gold but conquers hearts, even after death?" With respect and honor, Pontius Pilate, governor of Judea. Pilate knew that Jesus' fate was in his hands. He was the governor, and his word was law. Yet something deeply unsettled him. As a man accustomed to solving issues with reason and order, Pilate struggled to find a solid justification for condemning Jesus. He tried every alternative. He offered to release Jesus as part of a tradition, but the crowd rejected the idea. He attempted to shift responsibility to the religious leaders, but they persisted. Pilate felt increasingly isolated. Deep down, he knew that the accusations against Jesus were unfounded, and that his condemnation was more a political matter than a pursuit of true justice. What disturbed Pilate most was not just the legal process, but the presence of Jesus himself. He could not comprehend this man who seemed so detached from human pain and anger. Something in Jesus' calm and serene face reflected a peace Pilate had never experienced, a strength that defied explanation. That gaze, that serenity, disarmed Pilate in a way he could not control. And so, Pilate found himself facing an impossible dilemma. He knew Jesus was not guilty, but he also knew his position of power was at risk. Political pressures, the threat of a riot, and the demands of the crowd in Jerusalem forced him to make a decision. He knew that by handing Jesus over to be crucified, he was acting against his conscience. But he saw no other choice. Pilate's letter concludes with the inevitable condemnation of Jesus but also with a profound sense of emptiness. Pilate understood that by ordering Jesus' death, he was not only destroying an innocent man but also sealing his own moral fate. The face of Jesus, serene and enigmatic, would continue to haunt Pilate for the rest of his life. This letter leaves us with many questions. How do we confront the truth when it challenges us so deeply? Pilate, as he looked upon Jesus, saw something that transcended his beliefs, his laws, and even his own soul. In making his decision, Pilate not only condemned a man but also lost himself in his own moral dilemma. The story of Pilate and Jesus invites us to reflect on how our choices are influenced by what we cannot fully understand, and the impact those choices have on us. If this story moved you, like and share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to explore more stories like this one. See you next time.